Hi. Hey, I just got this book that I love, so I'm going to talk about it for a second. This is Mycelium Running, How Mushrooms Can Help Save the World. Quite a title, huh? It's Paul Stamets, who I've been using. I got the big mushroom book of his, Growing Gourmet and Medicinal Mushrooms, Paul Stamets. He's got a lot of videos up too. Paul's pretty cool, I think. Anyway, I've been using this for a minute. I got kind of into mushrooms, which I think a lot of people have gotten into them recently, which is really cool because mushrooms are really cool. So I was just growing like a few things from kits, and I'm trying to grow a couple of things in the yard. I'm getting kind of I'm gonna do some things with logs, which I have the logs, but I don't know. I need the right drill bits, and that's where I'm at with that right now. But I've got some oysters that are going to come up. I'm trying to grow morels in the yard. That one's, you know what's funny about morels? I got the spawn for them, and I did all the stuff I'm supposed to do, which like you put like gypsum in it, which is essentially drywall, and I made this bed, and I did all this stuff, and you are supposed to water them for 15 minutes every third day, which is like, that's a lot of watering. I mean, I just put on a podcast. Real Witches of the End Times is my favorite podcast right now. So I've been listening to that while I water my mushrooms, but 15 minutes is a long time. So anyway, but the thing about it is that with the morels, you water them for 15 minutes, like rain, not just water on them. You mist them, for 15 minutes every third day, and you may or may not get morel mushrooms coming up in 8 months to 3 years. You may or may not get them, but anyway, I decided to go ahead and try them and to use like watering them, to put other things around them, other mushrooms around them. So I'm going to grow some oysters. They should be coming up out there sooner. I wanted something that would come up sooner. And anyway, I've just been playing around with some mushroom kits, and kind of learning to do inoculate spawn and things like that. So we'll see what happens. But I've been really enjoying it lately. And this is Paul Stamets' book that I just recently got. And wow, like it's really cool. And there's a couple of things I wanted to read from it. Just because I think it's like really interesting and really cool. So, okay, so check this out. Oh, also, there's just so many this book has all these gorgeous, like this is mycelium. Look at that. Look at that. That's the internet, right? Which are like stars, which are like capillaries, like everything's interrelated. But this whole book is, there's all these beautiful color photographs in this book. Which are really great. This big Bible of mushrooms here, it's black and white on the inside, but this book has these. If you like looking at pictures of mushrooms, this is the place to do it. Look at these gorgeous things. I remember years ago, it was back in like mid 90s. Somebody I knew was like, you want to go to this thing it was at some museum. I don't even remember what it was, but somebody was going to be showing their slides of mushrooms that they took from around the world, and this was somebody who traveled and took pictures of mushrooms all over the world, and they'd like spritz them and set up these lights, so they'd be these kind of like, I don't know, really like glam shots of these mushrooms, right? So I remember I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, I guess that sounds cool. Let's go hang out, whatever. So I didn't realize what I was about to walk into. And we got there, and I mean, there were so many people. There must have been 100 people there. And we were just kind of cramped into this room, and like people were coming in. Like I remember this lady, she had on at the time these long skirts with these long shirts that you would wear over them that matched, that were the same fabric, or were really in style. And she came in, and she had the long pencil skirt on with the long shirt that were the same material and had the same print on them. And it was all mushrooms, right? And somebody else came in like mushroom clothes. And I was like, wow. And people, of course, now I realize people are fans of anything in the world, you can find these like diehard fans. But at the time, I was surprised by how many like diehard fans of mushrooms there were. And so I sat through like the slideshow, and I mean, it was cool. The pictures were beautiful and it was interesting. I wasn't as far into it as everybody else in the room was. But what I remember, because he would like spritz them and make them, wet. And you have these like, you have these really phallic looking mushrooms. And then you have these like, blooming, open, very vaginal looking mushrooms sometimes too, which is like super interesting. But I just remember like at one moment when I just really realized like I was sitting in a room full of like, they weren't just enthusiasts, it was like a cult. It was like a mushroom cult, was he showed this picture and these people like he pressed the button for the slide. Like these are the old days. These were the old times, it was the 90s. And he pressed this button for the slide to change. And changed into like this like phallic, looking mushroom that he had spritzed, to be just, wet or whatever. And when he hit the button and it came up on this big screen, somebody behind me went, and I was like, oh, it's like that, right? It's like that. So I feel like I understand a little bit better now, almost 30 years later or something. But anyway, the very opening of Mycelium running, I want to read you the first paragraph in this because this is super cool. So there are more species of fungi, bacteria, and protozoa in a single scoop of soil than there are species of plants and vertebrate animals in all of North America. And of these, fungi are the grand recyclers of our planet, the micro-magicians disassembling large organic molecules into simpler forms, which in turn nourish other members of the ecological community. Fungi are the interface organisms between life and death. That's so cool. It's so cool. If anybody can really get you into mushrooms, I feel like it's got to be Paul Stamets. I want to read you another one. This one's like, I feel like this is kind of timely, too, for where we're at in the world today. So, check this out. Fungi in outer space. So let me just read this. Fungi may not be unique to Earth. Scientists theorize that life is spread throughout the cosmos and that it is likely to exist wherever water is found in a liquid state. Recently, scientists detected a distant planet 5,600 light years away, which formed 13 billion years ago, old enough that life could have evolved there and become extinct several times over. It took 4 billion years for life to evolve on Earth, after all. Thus far, 120 planets outside our solar system have been discovered, and more are being discovered every few months. Astrobiologists believe that the precursors of DNA, pre-nucleic acids, are forming throughout the cosmos as an inevitable consequence of matter as it organizes. And I have little doubt that we will eventually survey planets for mycological communities. The fact that NASA has established the Astrobiology Institute and that Cambridge University Press has established the International Journal for Astrobiology is strong support for the theory that life springs from matter and is likely widely distributed throughout the galaxy. I predict an interplanetary journal of astromycology will emerge as fungi are discovered on other planets. It is possible that protogermplasm could travel throughout the galactic expanses, riding upon comets or carried by stellar winds. This form of interstellar protobiology migration, known as panspermia, does not sound as far-fetched today as it did when first proposed by Sir Fred Doyle and Chandra Wickramasinghe in the early 1970s. NASA considered the possibility of using fungi for interplanetary colonization. Now that we have landed rovers on Mars, NASA takes seriously the unknown consequences that our microbes will have on seeding other planets. Spores have no borders. There's so much in that paragraph. I just actually read so much. There's so much going on there. Intergalactic mushrooms, my friends, because spores literally have no borders. All right. Well, anyway, if you're interested in mushrooms, Paul Stamets. It's a lot of fun. Okay, everybody. Thanks.